I think it will be good for Nigerians who are seeing you perhaps for the first time. I know there's a lot to talk about as far as its campaign is concerned, and there's a lot that you want to also unbottle from your mind that you want to let out because of the stand where your party is compared to 2015 and 2019. A lot has changed, but it won't be. It will be uncharitable if you are on the program tonight and we're not asking you for the update on the ASUU strike. What is happening, Minister?
Well, thank you, Sheung. Just a quick one on the update of the ASUU strike. We're all aware that ASUU has been on strike for some months now, and the issues broadly can be divided into two broad categories. Their incomes, wages, and salaries on the one hand, and on the other hand, there's the system of payment by which they should be paid their salaries and their allowances. As for the first part of it, people should realize that we in the Ministry of Labour, we are not the employers of members of ASUU. The employer of members of ASUU is the Ministry of Education. And so the Ministry of Education, at some point, took over the negotiation. We were just conciliators. At the level of the Ministry of Labour, I hear a lot of people say that, oh, well, what are we doing? What are we not doing? We are not the employers. We are just conciliators. We intervene to try and settle both sides of the dispute. However, the Ministry of Education at a point set up a small committee within the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education set up what they call the Nimi Briggs Committee, Professor Nimi Briggs Committee, to receive the complaints of ASUU and then look into those complaints and see how those complaints could be accommodated within the framework of the finances of government. Now, when this committee began to sit with ASUU, there were other critical institutions of government that should have been at that meeting. National Income and Wages Salaries Commission, National Salaries and Income and Wages Commission, Budget Office of the Federation, Head of Service of the Federation, Ministry of Finance. ASUU at some point objected to these critical stakeholders sitting down with them. They said they were not cooperating with them. Well, how can you sit down with the Ministry of Education without those holding the pulse of government, without those who know the rules as to how public officers should be paid? How can you sit down with them and fix your own salaries? Well, that was what ASUU did originally with the Nimi Briggs Committee. They sat down, fixed their own salaries, and allowances with the Ministry of Education without these other critical stakeholders. And guess what happened? At the end of the exercise, what did we come to? ASUU now put their percentage of their salary, some increase as to more than 100% to 100 and something percent. It now came up to an additional 560 billion naira on top of the normal 412 billion that the federal government was already paying for using to pay their salaries and their emoluments. They added another 560 billion to that bill. And then that does not even include things like their hazard allowance and all those other little allowances. All those allowances also came to another additional 170 billion. And so the entire bill came up to 1.2 trillion or thereabouts. Meanwhile, you had before, even before this situation, a situation where the federal government was already spending 50% of its overheads on salaries to pay them. That was the previous bill, 50% of its overheads regarding salaries and emoluments to pay university teachers their wages and allowances. So what the federal government did when they brought this, proposal from the Nimi Briggs Committee, they said, well, this is unrealistic. You know what? You need to bring in other, they still went back to the same position where they had to bring in other critical stakeholders. National Income and Wages and Salaries Commission, Ministry of Finance, Budget Office of the Federation, Head of Service. They sat down again to look at all of this. And that was, led by the Office of the Chief of Staff. So all of them, they have looked at this again. They have looked at all of this and said, look, it's unrealistic. Because you now have the non-academic staff. They are also warming up to say, if you answer them, If you answer ASUU, we will also go on strike. You also have the polytechnic teachers, polytechnic lecturers and college of education say that if you answer ASUU, we are also going to join. So it's going to set off a chain of reaction that we cannot stop. And as you know, so let me just give you the grim picture of what we face. In 2023, the projection for 2023 is that the total income of government will be about 6.1 trillion. Subsidy alone will go up 6.3. In other words, subsidy will be more than even the total income of the federal government in 2023. So where do we go from here? And we have only one component. It's a critical component, I do accept, education. But one component placing this kind of burden on the federal purse. It's not just possible. So when they are looking at it again, and they are going to submit their, this other expanded committee will submit their, report to the federal government. But on the other issue of the system of payment, we all know that they came up with their own system, that the old system, the GPMI system, was fraught with fraud. And we know that with this kind of critical financial situation we are facing, we need to make sure we clean up our system of payment. ASUU said no, that they are above the law. They will not join other people, other public servants in going through that system, that they want to develop their own system. Federal government said, okay, develop your own system. They developed what they call the UTA system. Federal government took it to NITDA, which is the agency, that ensures the sanctity of some of these things. They took it to NITDA. They, subjected it to tests, and it failed the test. The stress test and all of that, he failed it. Meanwhile, the non-academic staff are saying, no, we will not even go with the UTAS that ASUU is developing. We are going to develop our own UPPPS system. How can you have a government with all parts, all different type of their employees developing their own system by which they will pay themselves? Which government will accept that? But despite all of that, the government was still patient enough to say, okay, you know what? Despite the fact that I failed this, stress system, go back again to NITDA. Go back. Subject all of this to test again. The UPPS, the UTAS, the IPPS, subject all to test. The federal government is still very patient with ASUU. And then when you go through all of this, come back again with a report to see whether we can give them another chance for this thing to pass through a stress test. But for the federal government to go ahead and start paying salaries and incomes and all that with a system that is not reliable, that is public money paid like that without a system that can be relied upon. It will be an irresponsible government that will do that. That is where we are, in brief, Seun. So it is for us, all well-meaning Nigerians, to appeal to ASUU, go back to class. While all these efforts are being made, in the world of negotiation, that is where Ministry of Labour comes in. Go to ILO, go to everywhere in the world. In the world of negotiation, conciliation, arbitration, once a dispute is arrested by a conciliator like we have done, normally everybody should go back to status quo, go back to work while all these efforts are going on. That is what we are saying and appealing to ASUU to do. That's all, Seun.
Yeah. Minister, for a lot of Nigerians who are watching tonight, who are perhaps, a lot of people who understand how government works know that government is not an easy thing to handle. It's a very difficult world over. Government endeavors are very difficult and technical to handle. And this ASUU matter has been, long coming, a long time. It's been on the ground even before the life of this administration. And the question will be how this government allowed university classrooms to be shut for over 170 days. Does it not question the integrity of this government? Education that's supposed to be at the center of our lives, because without education, how do we even progress in our development? Now, the government has allowed this to fester, and 170 days, classrooms are shut, students are away. We're talking about Boko Haram and the young people who are taken to criminality. Does it not question the capacity of this government to do just about anything? Because I'm still going to go to some other issue as far as government handling is concerned.
Seun, we are just begging the question. I just explained to you. Should we go and borrow to pay 1.2 trillion naira monthly.
It is the manner of handling, Minister, that I'm talking about.
Because guess what?
It's the manner of handling, Minister. It's the manner of handling. The fact that you have handled this and you've allowed classroom to be shut for 170 days. That's the question.
Shehu, you said manner of handling. The moment they went on strike, we intervened. What is the manner again beyond that? The moment they declared a strike, even before the strike began, we called them to a meeting. What manner is more than that? It's not that, oh, we left them to go on strike first and we were sleeping, and 3 months later we say, okay, can we start talking? The moment they declared, we immediately called them, say, let us start talking. And as the talk started, they still went on strike. You cannot allow a sector, one sector of the economy to hold your jugular and then blackmail you to go and borrow 1.2 trillion for overheads when our total income will be about 6.1 trillion. And you have roads to build, health centers to build, education, other sectors to take care of, critical infrastructure to take care of. Let me show you, this is the grim picture.
What would you, Minister, apologies. Apologies, Minister.
NPC is no longer remitting money to FAC.
Minister, just a moment. What would you say, Minister, to parents who have 3, 4 children, or 2 children, or even 1 child, or 1 ward in a university, and for 170 days, their children and their wards are at home, not able to go to school? What would you say to them as a government?
I will say to them, they have heard me. They have heard the picture. They have heard the clear picture. We are putting their cards on the table face up. We are not hiding anything. The cards are on the table face up. The proposal ASUU is talking about is 1.2 trillion. Meanwhile, even their former 412 billion that we are paying was even 50% of the total wage structure of the federal government that ASUU was taking a loan before. And now they are saying 1.2 trillion. So our cards are on the table face up. Chewu, I will tell the lecturer, I will tell the parents and everybody, go and beg ASUU. Like the president said the other time, those who know them, appeal to their sense of patriotism. Shehu, do you want me to kneel down on air as a parent also? I can kneel down on air and beg them. It has come to that point. Let them go back to classes. They are not the only ones in Nigeria. They are not the only ones feeding from the federal purse.
Minister,
the nation cannot grind to a halt.
Yeah,
hold on, Shehu. The nation cannot grind to a halt that before we want to take care of the demands of ASUU. We can go on and on for the next one. We have limited time. Let's go to the more critical issues why I'm here too.
This is a very critical matter for a lot of Nigerians because a lot of people will make inference to medical workers who have gone on strike for several days, also doctors who went on strike and all of that. And it's just a question of the manner in which government is handling a lot of these issues. But let's look into your appointment, which is the reason why we invited you tonight. Based on your appointment, and also congratulations on your appointment. But as a person, how does this come to you? Do you perhaps see it as a very tedious task? I mean, that it will turn to be, considering the fact that you are going to be a marketer for your party. You are going to be selling your party and your candidate. How difficult do you think that job will be for you?
Well, it depends on the context in which you look at it, really. It can be difficult if you think you look at it from the negative vibes that some naysayers are reeling out, opposition parties, the scaremongering they are engaged in. But for us, really, it's an easy task. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is one of the easiest candidates to sell. Because beyond all the noise, it's about records. Beyond all the noise, it's about what have you done and what have I done. We are going to put it on the table. We are proud of his record that he has achieved, whilst he was in public office. We are extremely proud, and nobody, Shehu, I repeat, nobody comes close to Asiwaju's records in public office in the last 23 years, or 22 years in Nigeria, or 23 years now in Nigeria. Nobody comes 100 miles close to his records. He's one of the easiest candidates to sell. And we are going to sell him, and we're going to sell him, and we're going to sell him.
So let me backtrack for a moment. I'm going to go into what the future portends as far as your job is concerned. But let's backtrack for a moment. You've served in this government for the last few years, and you're one of those who has sold the APC. And what you sold to Nigerians, first and foremost, was change. You're going to change this, you're going to change that. You came back a second time and you said you are going to go to the next level. The question is, how far about those things that you sold to Nigerians, those promises, before you start selling in this time around again? Tell us, give us a scorecard. How do you think that Nigerians are perceiving your market that you've sold to Nigerians right now?
Thank you, Sheung. There are records that this government has created, that we are very proud of. I will not run away from them. And then, whilst the campaign begins, like we say in Warri, when the jungle matures, we will put on the table, in proper context, I repeat, in proper context, the achievements of this government. And of course, tell Nigerians that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, being someone who has an uncanny ability to improve whatever he sees in public office, will take it to another level, whatever improvements we have made. Let me tell you, first of all, that I am proud of the infrastructural records of this government. With paucity of funds, with low earnings in oil, we have achieved infrastructural development that hardly any government in the history of Nigeria, with the type of funds, always quote me in a context, with the type of funds that we got, has achieved in the past. So I'm proud of our infrastructural records. Between now and the end of our tenure, it's going to be commissioning of projects. The second Niger bridge that was virtually a drawing in the year, 16 years of PDP, that they earned so much that they could not even put one metal on the ground. We are going to commission that project. For our brothers, lovely brothers in the East, we are going to do that. All the Sukuk projects, all the roads across, we are going to commission them. I am proud of those records. I'm also proud of the record that we have achieved almost food sufficiency. All the importation of essential food stuff that we're doing before, rice and all of that, we have stopped them, almost stopped them. I'm proud of those records. I'm also proud of the fact that records of security that we met on the ground, like the farmers' headers crisis, we did not engage in some kind of staccato knee-jerk reaction to approach them. At a point, it appeared intractable, but we were calm. We drew up a plan called the National Livestock Transformation Plan. We sat down, we drew it up. We gave money to states to drop this plan. And today, that problem that we inherited is almost gone. We didn't involve ourselves in some kind of knee-jerk reaction. We planned, we were calm. But at a point, you thought it was intractable. At a point, people thought we went to the 2019 election with headers crisis almost tearing apart this country. I am proud of that record. Are there drawbacks we have seen? I can go on and on, but because of time, but are there drawbacks we have seen? Are there work in progress? Yes, there's work in progress. Because as we're solving that, some other crises reared their ugly, banditry reared its ugly head. Kidnapping reared its ugly head in some other areas as well. Can the government solve everything 100%? No, we cannot solve everything 100%. Wherever we do, but there's a broad plan in place to address these problems. Just like we did the Northeast problem, just like we did the farmers' headers problem, we solved them. We did. The other time I was in Maiduguri, I went all the way from Maiduguri, that stretch to Damboa, that whole stretch, there was no single insurgent on the road. That place was impassable before. And that is why we are the people of the Northeast and other parts of the country, especially the North, they are going to speak loudly when they vote in 2023. They see Buhari as their savior, what they have gone through before. So I'm proud of those records here. Nobody should come and twist facts and engage in some lazy way of campaigning to say because there was one. I sympathize with people who have gone through this problem of banditry. First of all, I want to commiserate with them. We have milk of human kindness flowing in us. We sympathize with the families. We commiserate with them. But it's not Armageddon. It is not Armageddon. We have done it. We have shown the capacity to resolve these problems. In all the countries around the world, including the United States, these problems happen. Mass shooting, mass killings. What you ask yourself is, does the government have the capacity? That is the issue. It's not whether there is mass shooting, whether there is banditry. No, it will happen.
All right.
It will happen, whether we like it or not.
Mr. Keyamo, yeah.
But we have shown the capacity.
Okay, so now when you talk about capacity, I told you earlier that I want to backtrack because people would then ask that before you start talking to us, because you are the government in power, you're the party in power, so before you start talking to us about what you want and whether or not you should give you their votes for the next election, first and foremost, give an account of what you've done. Security was a major thing, and you mentioned, you're talking about security now. The question will be the boasts and the promises that you made about security, and you sold your candidate at a time, a general in the army that is going to solve the security problem of Nigeria. And for those who will be asking questions in Kaduna, in Gombe, in part of Abuja, some people in Kuje, Buhari, Kwali, and some other areas who are living in fear right now will ask the question, is that what you promised them when you talk about capacity? Capacity where presidential guards brigade were being attacked and the NSA said they were decimated. Is that the kind of promise that you made to Nigerians?
Last week, those who were gathering around the bushes of Abuja, they were raided, flushed out, and killed. That is what we promised. We promised response. We did not promise that it will not happen. We promised response. We responded last week. We killed them. Abuja is safe now. There's no incident like that around the bushes of Abuja again. We promised response. We have delivered response. People should not engage in scaremongering. Let me tell you something about the psychology of the bandits. They want to engage, they want to scare people. Their oxygen is fear. Their oxygen is scaremongering. They want to create panic. It's the oxygen of the terrorists. When you don't give them that oxygen of fear, of panic, of publicity, they peter away. And so once you just hear there was one security breach around areas of Abuja and the press explodes the next day, it's not Armageddon. How does the government respond?
I mean, so when we're talking about, you're talking about capacity.
Let me explain. It is only in heaven, when we arrive heaven, that there will be no security breach at all. We have not arrived heaven. We are on earth. So there must be security breach.
Right. How do we respond? Quote and unquote, you promise heaven and earth. That's what some Nigerians will be asking you. Just a moment, Minister. We were due for break in another few seconds. Just a moment. The question you're talking about capacity that you responded. The question would be, why did you have to wait for people to be killed before you responded? Why would you allow
people listen,
just a moment, if I may land on my question, why would you allow a Kuje correction facility, which is at the perimeter of the city capital? Why would you allow terrorists to threaten the #1 citizen in the country that they will kidnap a governor? Why would you wait to that moment? What did you do with the intelligence that are provided? These are some of the questions, Minister.
So you mean that some people sit down somewhere, some mad people, and say, I will kidnap Mr. President? That is not a national concern. I can also as well say so, as a mad person. Have they some capacity to do that? How can we elevate that to national discussion? That is exactly what they intend you to say. And that's how they intend you to react, and you are reacting that way. That they sit down when they threaten Mr. President. These are comedians.
No,
that they will that they will come and kidnap Mr. President.
Mr. Keyamo, just a moment.
Can I answer your question?
Just a moment, because you are saying that they've made threats. For example, they threatened that they were going to attack, or they wanted leaders, and they attacked Kuje. For several hours, they were attacking, and nothing happened. These are critical questions. And you think that we should not be bothered as citizens?
It's a security breach. Will it happen again? Will the government respond appropriately? They will respond. There are security breaches all over the world, regrettably. Regrettably, but that is not a yardstick to say government has failed. There are jailbreaks in America. The most secure government, secure place in the world, there are jailbreaks. In the Western world, there are jailbreaks. Unfortunately, I'm not proud of it. The optics is not good. I'm not justifying it. I'm not. But it is the spin people put around it in Nigeria that I want to correct. These breaches will happen. Watch how government responds. Watch the capacity of government to tackle these problems. It will now listen, in the last year, there were breaches in the southeast. Were there not? There were jailbreaks. There were killings. There were attacks on police stations. What is the ratio of that today? Government responded. Government sent security personnel to the southeast. Government calmed people down. They calmed them down. Today, we are not having those attacks in the southeast.
Minister, sorry, we're due for a break. Sorry, apologies. We're due for a break just a moment because we'll come back. We need to go on this break. We'll go for a break, everyone. And when we come back, our conversation with Minister Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, continues on APC, the state of the nation, and the race ahead of us to 2023 race. What will it be? Stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right on the program. Mr. Festus Keyamo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, the Minister of State for Labor, who was recently, only yesterday, was appointed as the spokesperson of the APC and the Tinubu Presidential Campaign Council, is in our Abuja studio tonight. Thank you so much, Lionel Sik, for your time tonight. Quickly, I'd like to move away from security and go into some other issues. But I would like to conclude or anchor on that matter with this question. In 2014, is the same spin on security that you are putting now when you were campaigning against Jonathan's capacity, the then president, to deal with the problem?
I'm sorry to say, Esheun, that Jonathan at that time did not show any capacity to deal with the problems. Let me tell you why. Whilst we are admitting there is a problem and we're trying to tackle the problem, even in the case of the kidnap of the Chibok girls, government denied that there was no kidnap, that nobody was kidnapped. I mean, that was crass irresponsibility. And that's why we campaigned against that government and changed the government. We're not saying that there will not be breaches. We're just saying that they had lost the plot. Jonathan lost the plot. PDP lost the plot. Have you heard us deny that people were kidnapped along Abuja, Kaduna, or anywhere? We rather face our problems. We dig in, we go back to the drawing board. We draw up a concise plan to resolve these problems once and for all. Shehu, this is a government and the president who is not in always a panic mode. People may misinterpret his body language, but he's somebody who likes to resolve these problems once and for all. And I have said before that the problems he met, he was calm about them, and he found lasting solutions to them. And we have moved on for those problems to new problems. Wherever we stop, these are work in progress. Wherever we stop, equipments have been brought in. You know that's all the best planes have been brought in. Fighter planes have been brought in. Now, wherever we stop, if by the will of God Almighty, ASUU Bola Ahmed Tinubu wins, and which we hope he will win, he will continue from where he has stopped. We cannot resolve all the problems 100%. And that's the connection between the Buhari's regime and the incoming ASUU Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because he is someone who, like I said before, can improve extremely whatever he meets on the ground. If anybody knows how Lagos was before 1999, I want us to please tell our younger ones. We are appealing to them to ask their uncles, ask their parents, ask their aunties how Lagos was before 1999. They don't know. And that is why they are deceiving them. That is why the new politicians are deceiving them. They will tell you how extremely, careful in planning that Asiwaju Tinubu was and how much he improved Lagos. 600 million naira IGR, 600 million to 51 billion IGR monthly today. That is a wealth creator. And Nigeria surely needs a wealth creator now. He's a transformative leader. He has the capacity and the brain to assemble some of the best minds around him. Let me tell you what Asiwaju did as governor of Lagos State. He went outside the southwest. He went to the heartland of Igbo land, to Anambra State, and brought his commissioner for budget and planning, Akabweze, to come and head in Lagos, in the heart of Lagos. The younger ones, if they don't know, they should tell you now that that's the type of leader that is campaigning for you to vote for him. He went for the best in Anambra State. And that is the template that the Igbo man formed today that is, what we are seeing in Lagos State as Commissioner for Budget and Planning in Lagos State. He went to Akabweze. He went to Kwara to bring the best. He went to Osun to bring the best. He went everywhere to gather the best around him. A president does not do everything himself. He makes the final call. He only listens to the experts around him. And the job of the president is not to be the economist. It's not to be the lawyer. It's not to be the expert. No. The job of the president is to listen to the experts and to make the final call. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu have the capacity to make the final call. The major rival we have today has not held any executive position where he makes the final call in government. So we cannot second guess. Atiku Abubakar has never held any government position where he makes the final call. He was vice president. He was not the chief executive. He was never governor. He was never anything. Even Peter Obi is ahead of Atiku Abubakar. Peter Obi is ahead of him in terms of the capacity to make decisions. So how are we going to hand over the country to somebody who has never shown the capacity, who has never held a position where he makes the final call? The vice president does not make the final call. Atiku Abubakar is not tested, is not trusted. He has never held any such position. Atiku, even Obi is ahead of him.
Let me ask you quickly. You're going to camp, the name of Bola Tinubu or his face or his picture will not be on the ballot. It will be the logo and a symbol of your party, the APC. So for those who, for example, and I moved away from security, who again will be looking at your party from the prism of what you have been able to do in 7.5 or 8 years, or will judge your party, for those who have not experienced Bola Tinubu in Lagos like you have described, what would you say to them? Are you going to say it is not is a different political party or it's a different platform, or just look away from the party and focus on Bola Tinubu? Because they'll be asking critical question. When your party got into power, what was the price of petrol? When your party got into power, what was the inflation rate? When your party got into power, what was the rate of unemployment? When your party got into power, what is the price of simple commodity like rice, tomato, onions, and the rest? When your party got into power, how much of money do they have in their pocket? These are critical questions that they will be asking. What would you be saying to them tonight?
I'll be saying to them that it is the same APC templates that both leaders have subscribed to that they will use. Let me explain it. I saw one misleading headline from one of the papers yesterday, and I laughed. It was just misleading. They were just, misinterpreting what one of our leaders said, that we were distancing ourselves from the records of Buhari, and that is utter nonsense. Like I said, we are proud of the record of the APC. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu salutes what we have done so far, but wants to improve on it. We have the same template of progressivism. He may not tweak how he approaches it and implements the program, but progressivism is that we believe in social and economic intervention in the lives of the middle class and the very poor. Unlike, the other people who want a totally free market economy. We believe in government intervention. That's why you see a lot of social intervention programs. Buhari, for example, has said before we leave, he wants a statutory intervention where all of these social intervention programs like conditional cash transfer will be a matter of law so that no government will come and change it. He has a heart for the poor. So we are very proud of this. Nobody is disassociating ourselves from our record. Now, it is a very lazy way to campaign. I know it is not your view, it's the view of the opposition. It's a very lazy way to campaign. To say, what is the price of tomatoes? Yeah, what is the price of tomatoes now? Look, you must put it in the context of a global macroeconomic situation of the major countries around the world. And to tell you that with what we have gone through in the last 7 years, Nigeria has done extremely well in a context. Don't come and quote me that I'm just being reckless with my statement to say Nigeria has done well when people are suffering. No, but in the context of what we have seen in the global macroeconomic situation of major countries around the world, let me tell you this. The inflation you are talking about, inflationary rate, was hovering around 13%. That was the average as at 2020 or there before around the pandemic. Now we are doing around 18%, which is a percentage of about 5%. That 5% increase in our inflationary rates in one of the worst period of human, the world existence in the last 100 years, since we had the Spanish influenza of 1919. This was the worst after the Spanish influenza. And of course, the Ukrainian war now. We are doing 5% increase in the inflationary rate. However, we are better than major countries around the world, like the United States of America, like Canada, like Russia, like Spain, like Germany. Go and fact check me. I am not saying that their inflation is 18% or lesser than 18%, or bigger than 18%. No, I'm not talking about the figure, the actual figure of 18%. I'm talking about the percentage of increase in terms of inflation. In other words, we have tried to keep inflation down more than other countries that are even bigger than us. So the inflationary trend has always been between, if you go and check, in fact, Ghana is worse. Ghana did 19% in terms of the rise in inflation between now and then. So Ghana's inflation now is about 29%, nearly 30%. We are doing 18%. Now, USA, Canada, Spain, and Germany, they are hovering, they did between 10% and 7%, higher than Nigeria that did 5% in terms of inflation. So it could have been worse. That's the point I'm making. It could have been worse. If I give the statistics also of how price increases in Nigeria, from the time of the Udoji Awards to the time of the Structural Adjustment Program to even the time of the austerity measures of Shagari, prices have never been stable. So they should not deceive the younger ones. We are going to expose them soon. Like I said, when Django mature, we will expose them. It's a lazy way to campaign to use the price of tomatoes and rice. It's a lazy way to, when they come here, we are going to have debates. We will put the global macroeconomics on a scale and put Nigeria in that scale and see where Nigeria is. 9 days before the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, the World Bank warned that certain countries were in the crisis of debt crisis. 9 days before the invasion added this problem to it. 25 of those countries were in Africa. 25 of those countries were in Latin America. It was in Asia, Pacific Asia. And about 19 of them were in Latin America. Nigeria was not one of those countries. South Africa now is doing 80% of its debt to GDP. 80%. 80% South Africa. Lebanon had to borrow $150 million to guarantee food security. Fact check me, just fact check. That's what I'm saying, fact check me. Google it.
Minister, I know you're a very senior lawyer.
Nigeria has not borrowed money for food security.
Your analysis of the economy.
We have food security.
Yeah, your analysis of the economy.
It is a lazy way to campaign.
Yeah, Minister, your analysis of the economy might be faulted by a lot of people who are watching tonight, because I would like us to come back and discuss this issue of the economy. Because when you say the price of tomato and rice does not matter, that is what the average Nigerians, that's what they buy.
No, you are misquoting me.
So when you say, when they bring it up,
you are misquoting me. Don't misquote me. Don't misquote me.
So what exactly did you say?
Immediately.
So when those prices went up,
I said it's a lazy way to campaign. I said it's a lazy way to campaign. It could have been worse. Don't misquote me.
Well,
it matters.
Your party promised that you were going to make it better. That's the question.
It's a lazy way because you are taking Nigeria out of the global.
Vote into your hands.
No. You are taking Nigeria out of the global context. You are taking Nigeria out of the global context. Nigeria does not live in isolation. Nigeria is not in Mars. Nigeria is on Earth like other countries. It's not in other planets. So you cannot take Nigeria out of a global context. You cannot.
Mr. Keyamo, please, I would like to invite you again. We will break it down. All these, the analysis, what I know that is difficult to argue with you is law, but the economics that you are analyzing tonight might be very, very much difficult for you to chew. But
no,
let me take you to one area because
we are
going to the home stretch.
All the facts are there.
No, but the indicators you are mentioning, I don't quite agree with you, but we don't have time to argue it tonight.
No,
because I have one or two questions to ask you. But just let's go into it.
Call me back.
Any person that will lead this country going forward from 2023, we have to contend with uniting this nation. There is no gainsaying that we may, we may be very divided as we find it, and there is a need to handle the very tender nature of this nation's unity. And it brought about the fact that a lot of people will question the decision of your candidate on the same faith, the choice of the same faith, and whether or not there is a sensibility or the sensitivity of your party and the candidate in his choice. Now, how badly do you think that could affect your campaign going forward?
Well, Shehu, the opposition has tried to make this the centerpiece of their campaign against us in the last few weeks, but I bet you it will backfire. Now, let me say this first of all, that I suspect, I guess correctly really, that the intention of those few Christians, I call them few Christians because I know the pulse of majority of Christians, I can feel it's not with them. But those few Christians and associations who have raised issues about being, they want a Christian vice president and all that. I am sure they are not doing it for the optics. That is, they just want a face of a Muslim president, a face of a Christian vice president. They are not doing it for the optics. They are doing it because they want some kind of balance of power. They want their interest to be protected. So let me start by saying that. This is an argument nobody has proposed, but this is the very base of all the arguments about Muslim tickets. However, I regret to announce to them that the vice president does not balance powers with the president. Constitutionally, the vice president is totally subordinate to the president. So if they are looking for balance of power, they are going the wrong route. They are going the wrong route because vice president does not balance power with the president. The president gives the vice president's assignments like he gives to the ministers, the chief of staff, the secretary to the government federation, and all of that. So they are actually completely proceeding from a wrong premise to think that they want a vice president because maybe they want their interests to be protected. No, the president is the commander-in-chief. Nobody shares that power with him, not even the vice president. And so, therefore, it does not make any sense to say you want to insist at all costs and bring down the country because you want a vice president. It doesn't work that way if you are looking for balance of power. If I were them, if it does matter, and I repeat, I'm not saying it matters, but if it does matter, they should be asking for the Senate presidency. They should be asking for the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Because government is run on a tripod. Government is not the president and the vice president. If they want balance of power in government, they should ask to head another part of government if it does matter. So they are proceeding from a wrong premise. Again, we have said it over and over again that political parties are designed to win elections, not to placate the ego of anybody. We said before, somebody keeps saying that, people keep saying that Nigeria of 1993 is not the Nigeria now. So you cannot compare 1993 when we won on the Muslim ticket, Abiola won, to now. So in other words, the argument of those people is that they agree that Nigeria was far better then when religion did not play any role in our political life. Nigerians were one. So why is it now that they are just giving up hope? That, okay, there is no hope again since Nigeria don't scatter. Let us just continue to scatter it more and be doing Muslim Christian and continue to scatter it. So Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Shetima, they will now be the guinea pigs. They will be the guinea pigs to pull Nigeria back from that precipice. Since Nigeria is going down that road.
All
people
right,
agree that Nigeria then was better.
Program.
So why don't you want to return? Why don't you want to return to Nigeria of that time?
Yeah, well,
in 4 years' time, I'll tell you. Let me just tell you this. Let me end by saying that in 4 years' time, after you see the performance of Asiwaju and Shetima, if anybody comes up again to say Muslim lead security, they will stone the person. They will say, we don't want again. We have seen performance. We
Mr.
don't
Keyamo,
want
we need to close now.
So we will put all those religious bigots out of business in 2027. We're going to put them out of business.
We need to close now, Mr. Keyamo.
No way to use religion to play politics in Nigeria again.
Yeah, just quickly, just in about 10 seconds before we go, you said something earlier, Honorable Minister, but before we go, I wish to take you up on that suggestion which you made. You made a suggestion to kneel down and beg parents of students to beg ASUU to return to the classroom.
Or to beg ASUU?
Yeah, that's what you suggested. That would you be kneeling down to beg them?
Yeah, we should beg them, appeal to them.
Would you be kneeling down? Would you be doing that tonight?
I can do that tonight, yes.
What if they want to see you kneel down and beg them, to placate them like you suggested?
Are you telling me to kneel down?
No, you are the one who suggested it.
Oh, yes, if I see them. I don't know whether they are watching me, but the next time I see them, I will kneel down.
They are watching you right now, Minister.
How do you know?
Because they do. They're watching.
If I see them, I will kneel down. The next time I see them, I'll kneel down. It's a promise.
Thank you so much, Mr. Festus Keyamo, the spokesperson of the Tinubu APC Presidential Campaign Council.